Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you a powerful truth. Your life, your journey, everything you've experienced up to this point, and everything you'll experience from now on is shaped by a simple but profound truth. The questions you ask yourself. Let me tell you this, the quality of your life is directly tied to the quality of the questions you ask. And today I want to introduce you to 3 questions that have the power to change your life forever. Empowerment through questions. There's a profound power within you, a power that can transform your life in ways you can hardly imagine, and it all begins with one simple tool that we often overlook. Questions. Yes, questions. It might seem surprising at first, but when you stop and think about it, questions are the keys to unlocking your potential. Every aspect of your life, your mindset, and the decisions you make is influenced by the questions you ask yourself. The truth is, the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of the questions you ask. Have you ever noticed how asking the right questions can change the course of a conversation or bring clarity to a seemingly overwhelming situation? What if I told you that asking the right questions could change your entire life? Consider the most pivotal moments in your life. What were the turning points? More often than not, they were triggered by a question. Maybe you asked yourself, what do I really want? Or is this the life I want to live? Maybe a mentor, a book, or an experience prompted you to ask yourself, what else is possible? Those are the kinds of questions that stir something deep inside of you, that awaken a new possibility for your life. They challenge your assumptions, push you out of your comfort zone, and inspire you to take bold action. Questions like these force you to examine the truths you've been living by, the beliefs that have held you back, and the mindset that has shaped your world. In fact, most of the beliefs we have about ourselves and our lives stem from questions we've asked, consciously or unconsciously throughout the years. When you ask, why can't I ever get ahead, your brain begins to search for evidence that supports this belief. It starts to confirm every story you've told yourself about your limitations. It may lead you to find excuses, point to past failures, or reinforce your self-doubt. On the other hand, when you ask yourself, what am I capable of that I haven't yet discovered? Something shifts inside of you. Your brain starts to look for new possibilities. It starts seeking solutions, ways to overcome challenges, and opportunities to expand. The questions you ask yourself are like the commands you give to your mind. The questions shape your focus, direct your attention, and ultimately determine what you see, hear, and feel. In essence, you're the one who controls your life story, but it all begins with the questions you ask. What often happens is that people get trapped in a cycle of limiting questions. These are questions that keep you stuck in your current reality, reinforcing the same patterns over and over again. Questions like, why does this always happen to me? Or, what's wrong with me? Only serve to confirm feelings of helplessness or frustration. These questions don't empower you, they don't encourage growth, they keep you anchored in a place of victimhood, robbing you of the opportunity to change your life. But there's another way. When you start asking empowering questions, you start thinking differently, acting differently, and ultimately living differently. Instead of asking questions that keep you in a state of stagnation, you can begin to ask questions that open doors, spark creativity, and fuel your desire for improvement. Questions like, what can I do today to move closer to my goals? Or, what am I learning from this experience that will help me grow? These are the kinds of questions that put you in the driver's seat of your own life. One of the most empowering questions you can ask is, what is truly important to me? When you ask yourself this question, you give yourself permission to dig deeper and explore your core values, desires, and passions. So often, people go through life on autopilot, fulfilling expectations and following the path that society, family, or peers have laid out for them. But what if you paused long enough to ask, what do I want my life to look like? What will make me feel fulfilled? Asking these types of questions helps you gain clarity, and clarity is the foundation for taking meaningful action. When you know what matters most to you, you can begin to align your actions with your desires. You stop chasing after the wrong things and start investing your time and energy in what will truly bring you joy, peace, and success. And that's the magic of empowering questions. They allow you to take control of your own destiny. Instead of letting life happen to you, you start taking proactive steps toward creating the life you want. The path forward may not always be easy, but when you ask yourself the right questions, you gain the insight and courage to keep moving forward. Your questions not only shape your mindset, they also influence the decisions you make. Every choice you make in life, big or small, is based on the questions you've asked yourself up until that point. Whether it's deciding to take a new job, start a business, pursue a relationship, or make a health change, your questions determine your perspective and the actions you take. The beauty of questions is that they don't just stop at the surface level. The more you dive into them, the more profound and life-altering the answers can become. You may start by asking, "What do I want?" But as you answer that question, you will naturally be led to even deeper ones. Why do I want this? What will this mean for me and others? What do I need to let go of in order to make this happen? Each of these follow-up questions will push you to grow, to shift your mindset, and to take bold action toward your desired future. In the end, the power of questions lies in their ability to awaken your awareness. They pull you out of your comfort zone and challenge you to think beyond what you've known. They invite you to explore new possibilities, to break free from limitations, and to create a reality that aligns with your truest self. The right questions are a catalyst for change. When you ask the right questions, you give yourself permission to step into a life of purpose, growth, and infinite possibility. Clarity is the key. In a world filled with distractions, noise, and constant change, one of the most powerful assets you can have is clarity. It may sound like a simple concept, but clarity is the cornerstone of success, fulfillment, and personal growth. When you have clarity, you have a roadmap for your life. You know where you're going, what steps to take, and what's truly important to you. Without it, you're like a ship sailing in a vast ocean without a compass, drifting aimlessly and hoping to find land. Clarity is not just about having a vague idea of what you want, it's about knowing exactly what you want, why you want it, and understanding how to get there. It's the difference between setting a goal and achieving it, between living passively and living purposefully. Clarity transforms your dreams from abstract ideas into tangible, actionable steps. It empowers you to make decisions with confidence, navigate challenges with resilience, and stay focused on your path no matter the obstacles that may arise. The problem most people face is that they don't take the time to gain true clarity in their lives. They move from one day to the next, responding to external demands and reacting to whatever comes their way. They chase after things without ever pausing to ask themselves if those things are truly aligned with their values or their long-term vision. As a result, they end up feeling lost, unfulfilled, and disconnected from their own sense of purpose. They may have success on the outside, a good job, a nice home, or recognition, but deep down something is missing. They are living someone else's version of success, not their own. When you have clarity, you become aligned with your true desires. You no longer waste time chasing things that aren't in line with your values or your goals. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. You know exactly what you're working toward and why it matters to you. This sense of direction becomes your anchor, and it enables you to face challenges with a mindset of resilience rather than frustration. You are not distracted by the opinions of others or by the temptation to follow the crowd. Instead, you remain steadfast in your commitment to your vision, and you take consistent, purposeful action to make it a reality. Clarity also gives you the ability to set effective goals. Many people set goals without a clear understanding of what they truly want to achieve, and as a result, they struggle to stay motivated. They don't have a clear vision of the end result, so they get bogged down by obstacles or become discouraged when things don't go as planned. But when you have clarity, your goals are not just arbitrary tasks. They are deeply connected to your personal values and your vision for the future. You know why achieving these goals is important, and you can measure your progress with confidence. Another key benefit of clarity is that it helps you prioritize what matters most. In a world where there is an endless stream of demands on your time and energy, clarity allows you to identify what is truly important. You no longer waste time on things that don't serve your bigger vision. You can say no to distractions, and you make decisions based on what aligns with your long-term objectives. When you have clarity, every choice you make becomes an opportunity to move closer to your desired outcome. Clarity also brings peace of mind. One of the most exhausting things you can experience is constant indecision and uncertainty. When you are unsure about what you want or how to get there, your mind becomes cluttered with questions and doubts. You second-guess yourself, feel anxious about the future, and often find yourself paralyzed by fear. This mental fog can prevent you from taking action and can drain your energy, leaving you feeling overwhelmed. But when you have clarity, you know exactly what to do next. Your path becomes clear and you move forward with a sense of purpose and direction. However, achieving clarity isn't always easy. It requires taking the time to reflect deeply on what matters to you, what you value, and what you truly desire. It requires you to block out the noise of the world and listen to your inner voice. It demands that you ask yourself tough questions about your life, your goals, and your priorities. Gaining clarity often means confronting uncomfortable truths about what you've been pursuing, why you've been pursuing it, and whether it's truly aligned with your authentic self. The process of gaining clarity begins with self-awareness. You must take the time to reflect on your current situation, your desires, and your values. You need to examine where you are in life, where you want to go, and what's holding you back. This is not always easy, as it may require you to let go of old beliefs or habits that no longer serve you, but it's essential if you want to move forward. Clarity also comes from being intentional about how you spend your time. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life. But if you don't take the time to pause, reflect, and focus on what matters most, you will continue to live in a state of confusion. Setting aside time for introspection, journaling, or simply being still allows you to connect with your true desires and gain the clarity you need to move forward. Ultimately, clarity is about more than just having a clear vision. It's about aligning your actions with that vision and staying true to your values. When you are clear on your purpose, you will begin to make decisions that reflect that purpose. You will start to take action that is aligned with your deepest desires, and you will cultivate a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction that comes from living authentically. Clarity is the key that unlocks the door to a life of purpose, intention, and success. Ownership and responsibility. In life, one of the most empowering and transformative things you can do is take full ownership and responsibility for your life, your actions, and your outcomes. It's easy to blame circumstances, other people, or external factors when things don't go as planned. In fact, it's human nature to want to protect ourselves from discomfort and avoid accountability for things that may not have turned out as we hoped. But what if I told you that your power, your potential, and your ability to change your life lie in the decisions you make about ownership and responsibility? Taking ownership means recognizing that everything in your life is a direct reflection of the choices you've made. Every success, every failure, every moment of joy, and every moment of frustration comes from decisions you've made, consciously or unconsciously. By accepting this truth, you begin to realize that you are not at the mercy of life's circumstances. You are the creator of your own reality. The way you respond to life, the decisions you make, and the actions you take are all within your control. When you take ownership, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of life's circumstances. You stop waiting for things to change out there before you change in here. You stop waiting for someone else to take responsibility for your happiness, success, or fulfillment. Instead, you begin to ask yourself, what can I do about this? How can I take charge of this situation? And what choices can I make that will move me closer to the life I want to create? Ownership requires you to shift your mindset from a passive observer to an active participant in your own life. One of the most powerful aspects of taking ownership is that it empowers you to learn from your mistakes rather than using them as an excuse to quit or give up. Life is filled with challenges and setbacks, and nobody's journey is without difficulty. But when you take ownership, you stop blaming others or external circumstances for your struggles. Instead, you begin to view challenges as opportunities to grow and improve. Every failure is a lesson, every mistake is a chance to learn, and every setback is a stepping stone toward future success. This mindset of ownership allows you to move forward with resilience and perseverance, even in the face of adversity. Taking responsibility for your life also means being honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to go. It requires you to acknowledge the things that you may have been avoiding, whether it's your habits, your mindset, or your lack of action. It can be uncomfortable to face the parts of ourselves that we would rather ignore, but this discomfort is a necessary part of growth. The truth is, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. When you take full responsibility for your life, you are willing to face your weaknesses, your fears, and your limiting beliefs head on. And in doing so, you give yourself the opportunity to grow and evolve into the person you want to become. Taking ownership is also about recognizing that you are responsible for the energy you bring into every situation. You may not be able to control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it, whether it's a difficult relationship, a challenging work environment, or a personal struggle. How you respond is entirely up to you. When you take ownership of your emotions, your thoughts, and your reactions, you regain your power. You stop allowing external circumstances to dictate your mood, your behavior, or your state of mind. You realize that your emotional state is something you can control, and you start taking responsibility for how you show up in every area of your life. One of the biggest obstacles to taking ownership is the fear of failure or making mistakes. Many people avoid taking responsibility because they are afraid of what might happen if they fail. But the reality is that failure is a natural and inevitable part of growth. It's not something to be feared or avoided. It's something to be embraced. Every successful person has faced failure and made mistakes along the way. What separates those who succeed from those who don't is their willingness to take responsibility for their failures, learn from them, and keep moving forward. When you take ownership of your mistakes, you take away the power of shame and self-doubt. Instead of allowing failure to define you, you use it as a catalyst for growth. Another powerful aspect of taking ownership is that it puts you in the driver's seat of your own life. You are no longer a passenger, waiting for life to happen to you. Instead, you are the one steering the ship. You get to decide what direction you want to go in, and you take full responsibility for the choices that lead you there. Whether it's in your career, your relationships, your health, or your personal growth, ownership gives you the power to create the life you truly want. It's about taking proactive steps, making intentional decisions, and showing up every day with purpose and commitment. When you take ownership and responsibility for your life, you also become a role model for others. People are drawn to those who take charge of their own lives and lead by example. When you take responsibility for your actions, your successes, and your failures, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of empowerment, showing others that they too have the ability to take control of their lives and create the change they desire. Ultimately, taking ownership is about reclaiming your personal power. It's about realizing that you have the ability to shape your life, to create the future you want, and to take action towards your dreams. It's about knowing that you are in charge of your destiny, and that every choice you make has the potential to move you closer to the life you desire. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop being a passive observer, and you become the active creator of your own story. The power to change your life is in your hands, and it all begins with taking ownership and responsibility for everything that is within your control. The power of what if. There is a question that holds immense power, a question that can transform your life and open up a world of possibilities. This question is deceptively simple, but its impact can be life-changing. That question is, what if? The moment you begin to ask yourself, what if? You invite the universe of possibilities into your life. It takes you from the narrow path of limitation into a world of expansion and freedom. It pushes you to imagine beyond your current circumstances, beyond the boundaries you've set for yourself, and beyond what you think is possible. What if is a question of potential. It's the key to unlocking your creativity and your ability to dream big. It challenges the status quo and asks you to step out of your comfort zone. When you ask yourself, what if? You allow your mind to wander and explore new opportunities, new paths, and new realities. This question sparks innovation and curiosity. It's a question that invites you to look at your world through a lens of possibility rather than limitation. When you ask, what if? You start to break free from the constraints of your current beliefs. It encourages you to move past the limits that society, your family, or even your own fears have placed upon you. It's a doorway to transformation. Instead of accepting the familiar and the safe, what if opens your eyes to a future filled with endless potential. You stop seeing obstacles as walls and begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of thinking, I can't, what if? Asks you to think, what if I could? And suddenly you start to see all the ways in which something that once seemed impossible is within your reach. The power of what if lies in its ability to expand your vision. It takes you out of the tunnel vision that we so often get trapped in and places you in a broader, more expansive view of your life. Have you ever been stuck in a situation where you couldn't see a way out? Perhaps you were in a job you didn't love, or in a relationship that was draining, or in a place where you felt stagnant and uninspired. The thing that often keeps us stuck is our inability to see any other options. We become confined to the world we know, believing that there are no alternatives, no way forward. But when you ask, what if? You immediately create space for new ideas to emerge. You open the door to new possibilities and allow your mind to explore all the ways things could be different. What if also encourages you to tap into your innate courage. The reason most people don't take risks or pursue their dreams is because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. But the question, what if, turns fear on its head. It encourages you to look at fear not as something to avoid, but as something to embrace. Instead of fearing what might happen if things go wrong, what if challenges you to consider what might happen if things go right. What if the risk you take leads to success? What if the new path you take opens doors to opportunities you never imagined? By reframing fear with the power of what if, you transform your perspective and start seeing risk as a gateway to something greater. Rather than something to be avoided, asking what if also shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. So many of us live with the belief that there is a limited amount of success, love, or happiness to go around. We think that if someone else succeeds, it takes away from our chances of success. But what if reminds you that the possibilities are limitless. The world is full of abundance, and your success is not dependent on the success of others. There's room for all of us to thrive. When you ask, what if? You invite more than just what you can see in front of you. You invite the infinite possibilities that exist in a world full of abundance and opportunity. Another beautiful aspect of what if is that it puts you in the driver's seat of your own life. It empowers you to become the creator of your reality. Instead of letting circumstances dictate your life, you begin to realize that you have the power to shape your future. What if encourages you to take control of your destiny. It's not about waiting for the right opportunity to fall into your lap. It's about creating those opportunities yourself. It reminds you that you are the one who holds the pen to your story, and you have the ability to rewrite it at any time. What if also fosters a mindset of curiosity and exploration. It encourages you to ask questions, to dig deeper, and to seek new experiences. Instead of sticking to what you know, what if urges you to step into the unknown and discover the vastness of what's available to you. It's about being open to new ideas, new perspectives, and new ways of thinking. Every time you ask, what if, you open yourself up to new experiences, new knowledge, and new growth. The beauty of what if is that it invites you to dream. It allows you to imagine the life you've always wanted, the goals you've always hoped to achieve, and the person you've always wanted to become. It stretches your imagination and expands your vision for your life. It forces you to ask, what if I could live the life I've always imagined? What if I could do the thing I've always dreamed of? What if I could create a life that feels exciting, fulfilling, and full of possibility? In the end, what if is a powerful tool for transformation. It opens doors to new opportunities, pushes you to think bigger, and encourages you to embrace risk, curiosity, and abundance. It shifts your mindset from limitation to possibility and from fear to courage. What if is not just a question, it's a call to action. A challenge to break free from the confines of your current reality and step into a world of infinite potential. What do I really want? It's one of the most fundamental and powerful questions you can ask yourself, yet so many people go through life without ever truly pausing to reflect on it. We are often so caught up in the rush of daily responsibilities, obligations, and expectations that we fail to take a step back and ask ourselves, what do I really want? It's easy to get lost in the noise of life and follow a path that others have set for us, whether it's the career we were expected to pursue, the lifestyle we've been told to live, or the goals we've adopted because of social pressure. But this question holds the key to unlocking a life of purpose, fulfillment, and personal satisfaction. When you take the time to honestly answer this question, you embark on a journey of self-discovery that leads you to a deeper understanding of who you truly are and what you truly desire. At its core, asking, "What do I really want?" is a question of authenticity. It's about peeling away the layers of societal conditioning and family expectations and external influences that may have shaped your desires without you even realizing it. We are often taught to chase after things like success, wealth, or status because they are seen as markers of a life well lived. But when you stop and ask yourself what you truly want, you begin to question if those external achievements align with your personal values and inner truth. Perhaps you realize that you are chasing goals that don't truly excite you, or pursuing a path that doesn't bring you joy or satisfaction. The process of answering this question requires deep introspection and honesty. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself that you may have been ignoring or suppressing. You might uncover long-held desires or dreams that you've pushed aside for years. Maybe you've always wanted to travel the world, start a business, write a book, or live a simpler, more fulfilling life. But for one reason or another, you haven't allowed yourself to pursue these things. Maybe you've told yourself that you're not capable or deserving, or that there are more practical or acceptable paths to follow. But when you ask, "What do I really want?" you open the door to possibility. You give yourself permission to dream and to embrace the things that truly light you up. Often, people avoid asking this question because they fear the answers. They're afraid of what they might find, or they feel overwhelmed by the possibility that they might not be able to achieve what they truly desire. The truth is, when you ask yourself what you really want, you're not only asking about the external outcomes or goals you hope to achieve, but also about the deeper emotional and spiritual needs that drive you. Do you want more peace, freedom, connection, or joy in your life? Are you seeking personal growth, a sense of purpose, or a deeper connection with others? The answer to "what do I really want" goes beyond just the material aspects of life. It's about identifying the underlying emotions, values, and experiences that are truly meaningful to you. When you reflect on this question, it forces you to align your actions with your true desires. It challenges you to stop living on autopilot and start living intentionally. It's easy to fall into the trap of simply going through the motions, moving from one day to the next without ever truly questioning whether you are heading in the direction that brings you happiness and fulfillment. But when you answer the question, "What do I really want?" you begin to take responsibility for your own life. You become an active participant in the creation of your reality, rather than just a passive observer of what happens around you. Answering this question also requires you to let go of the fear of judgment or failure. So often, we allow the opinions of others to shape our desires and decisions. We may feel pressure to conform to societal expectations or live up to the standards set by our family, peers, or culture. But when you ask yourself what you truly want, you are giving yourself permission to break free from the expectations of others and create a life that feels authentic and meaningful to you. It requires courage to be honest about what you truly want, especially if it differs from what others expect of you. In many cases, answering this question is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. As you grow, evolve, and experience new things, your desires may shift. What you wanted 5 years ago may no longer hold the same significance for you today. Your life circumstances, values, and goals may change, and that's okay. The important thing is that you regularly ask yourself, "What do I really want?" and adjust your path accordingly. This question keeps you connected to your authentic self and ensures that you are living in alignment with your evolving desires. By asking yourself what you truly want, you also begin to gain clarity about what you don't want. Often we spend so much time focusing on the things that we think we should do or have that we forget to consider what we want to avoid. Sometimes getting clear on your desires is as much about eliminating what no longer serves you as it is about identifying what does. Maybe you realize that you no longer want to be in a certain job or relationship. Maybe you realize that you want to prioritize your health or invest more time in personal growth. Whatever it is, the clarity that comes from answering this question gives you the freedom to make decisions that are in line with your true desires, rather than what others have told you is important. Ultimately, asking yourself, "What do I really want?" is an invitation to reconnect with your inner self, to rediscover your passions, and to live a life that is meaningful and fulfilling on your own terms. It's a call to take control of your own happiness and to stop settling for a life that doesn't resonate with your deepest needs and values. It's about living authentically, unapologetically, and intentionally, and giving yourself permission to pursue the things that truly matter to you. What am I willing to give up? It's a question that many people avoid because it forces them to confront the sacrifices necessary for growth, success, and meaningful change. It's easy to want more success, more happiness, more love, more opportunities. But what are you willing to let go of in order to make room for those things? Life is a constant balancing act, and to gain something new, something else must often be released. Growth requires shedding old habits, old beliefs, and even relationships that no longer serve your highest good. But this is not always an easy thing to face. When you ask yourself, what am I willing to give up? You are acknowledging that everything in life comes with a price. Nothing worth achieving comes without sacrifice. It's easy to become comfortable in familiar routines and situations even if they aren't the best for us. We cling to what we know even when it no longer brings us joy or serves our personal growth. Yet, to truly move forward, we must release what is holding us back. Sometimes it's obvious what needs to go, like unhealthy habits or toxic relationships, but other times the things we need to give up are more subtle and ingrained in our daily lives. The first thing you might need to give up is your fear of change. Change is uncomfortable, and it's natural to resist stepping into the unknown. Most people stay stuck in situations or patterns because they are familiar, even if they aren't ideal. The fear of failure, the fear of the unfamiliar, and the fear of what might happen if you step out of your comfort zone often outweigh the desire to grow. But the reality is that growth happens when you are willing to leave behind the old and embrace the new. When you ask, what am I willing to give up? You are choosing to let go of the security of staying where you are in order to move towards something better. Another thing you may need to give up is perfectionism. Many people hold themselves back because they are paralyzed by the need to do everything perfectly. This desire for perfection can stop us from taking action, from pursuing our dreams, and from fully embracing life as it is. Perfectionism creates a fear of failure that can be crippling. But the truth is, no one is perfect. Mistakes, setbacks, and imperfections are part of the process of growth and success. To truly move forward, you must be willing to give up the unrealistic expectation that everything has to be perfect. Instead, you must embrace progress over perfection. You may also need to give up the need for constant approval or validation from others. So often we live our lives seeking approval, worrying about what others think, and trying to live up to external expectations. This constant need for validation can keep us from living authentically and following our true path. It can lead to self-doubt and prevent us from pursuing what we really want because we are too focused on meeting the expectations of those around us. To live a life of freedom and fulfillment, you must be willing to give up the need for external validation. You must learn to trust yourself, your instincts, and your inner wisdom, and release the pressure of seeking approval from others. Another area where you may need to give up is limiting beliefs. We all carry beliefs about ourselves and the world that shape how we approach life. These beliefs often stem from past experiences, societal conditioning, or family dynamics. Beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, or I don't deserve happiness, can hold us back from achieving our fullest potential. These beliefs are often deeply ingrained and difficult to shake. But in order to grow, you must be willing to question and release them. To achieve your goals, you must let go of the beliefs that limit your potential and replace them with empowering, positive beliefs that align with the life you want to create. In the pursuit of personal growth, you may also need to give up unhealthy attachments to people or situations that drain your energy. Not all relationships are supportive or nurturing, and some may be holding you back from becoming the person you are meant to be. Whether it's a toxic friendship, a relationship that no longer serves you, or a job that is draining your spirit, sometimes letting go is the healthiest choice you can make. The need to please others, the fear of conflict, or the fear of being alone can make it difficult to walk away from relationships or situations that aren't contributing to your well-being. However, in order to grow and move forward, you must be willing to release what doesn't serve you so that you can make space for healthier, more fulfilling connections. Additionally, giving up old habits and patterns is another key element of growth. We all have habits that we've accumulated over time, some of which may have served us in the past but are no longer helpful. Whether it's procrastination, self-sabotage, poor time management, or unhealthy coping mechanisms, these habits can keep us stuck in the same cycle. Changing habits can be one of the hardest things to do, but it is also one of the most rewarding. To create the life you truly want, you must be willing to give up the habits that no longer serve you and replace them with new, positive behaviors that align with your goals and values. You may need to give up the need to control everything. Life is unpredictable, and while it's important to take action and make thoughtful decisions, there is only so much you can control. Trying to control every aspect of your life can lead to frustration, stress, and burnout. Letting go of the need to control everything allows you to trust the process and surrender to the natural flow of life. It's about accepting that you cannot predict or control every outcome, but that doesn't mean you aren't making progress or moving in the right direction. Ultimately, what you are willing to give up is a deeply personal decision. It is about identifying the things that are holding you back and consciously choosing to let them go in order to create space for new growth, new experiences, and new possibilities. It requires self-awareness, courage, and the willingness to embrace change. But the rewards that come from making the tough decision to release what no longer serves you are immeasurable. By giving up the things that limit you, you make room for a life that is full of freedom, growth, and true fulfillment. What action am I going to take now? It's a question that often follows a realization or a moment of clarity. We can reflect, dream, plan, and envision all we want, but none of that matters until we ask ourselves, what action am I going to take now? It is in the moment of deciding to take action that transformation happens. Our ideas and goals are only as valuable as the steps we take to bring them to life. Action is the bridge between intention and achievement. It is the force that propels us forward, making our dreams tangible and our aspirations real. Asking, what action am I going to take now, is not just about identifying what needs to be done. It's about shifting from a passive state of thinking to an active state of doing. Many people are stuck in the realm of planning, analyzing, or overthinking, but the reality is that nothing will change until something is done. We can spend days, weeks, or even years contemplating our next move, but without the commitment to take action, all our ideas will remain locked inside our minds, unrealized. The key to making this question powerful is recognizing the urgency in answering it. Too often we wait for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, or the ideal conditions to take action. We tell ourselves that we will take the leap once we feel more ready, or once we have all the pieces in place. But the truth is, the perfect moment rarely comes. We will never have everything figured out, and waiting for perfect conditions only holds us back. When we ask ourselves what action we are going to take, we acknowledge that there will never be an ideal time, and the best thing we can do is start now. The longer we wait, the more we allow fear, doubt, and indecision to take root. We must choose to take action in spite of those emotions, knowing that they are temporary obstacles to overcome on the path to growth. Taking action often requires stepping outside of our comfort zones. When we are faced with the unknown, fear can be a powerful force that holds us back. It's the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, and the fear of what others will think. However, it is precisely these fears that we must confront in order to move forward. Action is not about being fearless, it's about moving in spite of fear. It's about making a decision and committing to it, regardless of the uncertainty that lies ahead. When you ask yourself, what action am I going to take now? You are choosing to embrace discomfort and push through the doubts that may arise. The more you practice taking action, the more natural it becomes, and over time, the fear becomes less significant. Beta, the most important aspects of taking action is breaking it down into manageable steps. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you look at a large goal or vision, but the way to move forward is by focusing on small, achievable actions. If you have a big dream or a significant goal in mind, instead of being paralyzed by the enormity of it, break it down into smaller, concrete steps that you can take immediately. What can you do today, this week, or this month that will bring you closer to your goal? Action doesn't have to be big or dramatic to be effective. Small, consistent steps often lead to greater results over time. By taking action now, no matter how small the step, you create momentum that carries you forward. Every action you take builds on the last, and before you know it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. The act of taking action is also a form of self-empowerment. It reinforces the belief that you are in control of your life and your destiny. When you take decisive action, you shift from a passive observer to an active creator of your own reality. You stop waiting for things to happen and start making things happen. Each time you make a conscious decision to take action, you are telling yourself that you are capable, resourceful, and strong enough to make progress, regardless of the obstacles that might arise. It is in the moments of action that you truly realize the power within you to shape your life. You might not always know exactly how things will turn out, but you will know that you took a step forward, and that in itself is a victory. Sometimes, taking action requires letting go of perfectionism. Many people get stuck in the planning phase because they are waiting for the perfect idea or solution. They fear that if they don't get it right, they will fail, but this mindset often leads to paralysis. In reality, perfection does not exist, and waiting for it only delays progress. Action is messy. It's not always going to be perfect, and things won't always go as planned, but that's okay. What matters is that you are moving forward, learning from mistakes and adjusting as needed. The journey is not about perfection, it's about growth and progress. Taking action, even if it's imperfect, is a critical part of the process. When you ask yourself, what action am I going to take now? You are also acknowledging the importance of consistency. It's not about taking a single grand action, it's about building a habit of taking action every day. The more consistent you are, the more you reinforce the belief in your ability to achieve your goals. Success doesn't happen overnight, and it's not the result of a single action. It's the result of many small, intentional actions taken over time. When you commit to taking action on a regular basis, you create a foundation for long-term success. The key is persistence, and every action you take is a step in that direction. Finally, the power of taking action is that it removes the weight of indecision. When we don't act, we live in a state of uncertainty, constantly wondering what could have been. But when you make the decision to take action, you clear the fog of doubt and move into clarity. Even if the outcome is not exactly what you expected, you have gained valuable experience and insight, and that moves you closer to your ultimate goal. By taking action now, you free yourself from the weight of inaction and step into the energy of forward momentum. When you ask yourself, what action am I going to take now? You are embracing the opportunity to change, to grow, and to move your life forward. Action is the force that transforms your dreams into reality. It is the path from thought to manifestation. It's a commitment to living intentionally, to stepping beyond fear and uncertainty, and to taking full ownership of your life. Every action, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you are meant to be and the life you are meant to live. These three questions: what do I really want? What am I willing to give up? What action will I take now? Will change everything for you. These are not just questions to ponder, they are your roadmap to a life of purpose, growth, and fulfillment. Let me remind you of something. You have the power to create a life that's beyond anything you've ever dreamed. But it starts with the questions you ask yourself, and it starts now. So ask yourself these three questions and get ready to take massive action. Your future is waiting for you, and it begins today. The time is now. Make it count.